good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to this masterclass about digital transformation. It starts with the customer. Welcome Tim Mitchell and Manuela Barbero. Who does not know us, we are not leaders in architecture and construction. We are all leaders also in digital transformation. So this is what we will show for you this day. Thank you, Tim Mitchell, for be here with us, and you can start when you want. Okay.
Thank you, Mona Lisa, and a very good evening to everyone from the ZIGURAT Institute of Technology community. It's really great to be here. I was a student with the ZIGURAT Institute of Technology last year. I did the MBA in digital transformation. Really enjoyed my time and learned a lot of valuable lessons. Also got the opportunity to meet some really smart and amazing people. So I would encourage everyone who's on the call today to take a moment to reach out to your network, to many of the colleagues on this masterclass and in some of your other courses as an opportunity to make the most of those professional connections. As a brief introduction to myself, I am the digital transformation and CX leader at Cadena Growth Partners. And our business is a boutique advisory company that focuses on consulting to clients to help them on their digital transformation journeys. So we basically do two things. The first thing that we do is help with growth. So we help our clients to unlock new growth by leveraging technology and looking at innovative business models to launch new revenue streams in the market. And the other thing that we do is modernization, which is all about using technology to help our clients do what they do today, but faster, smarter, and more efficiently through the use of technology. And prior to my role at Cadena Growth Partners, I spent large amounts of my career at Deloitte in the consulting space, focused on strategy and technology. I took on a leadership role there to shape the digital strategy for Deloitte Africa after that. And throughout my time in my professional career, I've always been of the opinion that any good digital transformation always has to start with the customer. And whether that customer is a B2C customer or a B2B customer, in some cases, maybe it's even a B2B2C customer, as there are many different layers and intermediaries. At the end of the day, it's always going to be human to human. Even if you are making use of artificial intelligence and some of the smart and sophisticated chatbots that help customers today, there's still that human element that needs to come through. And in taking any business forward with a digital transformation, it's really important to maintain that customer need at the center of your digital transformation. So what I hope to share with you today is essentially a number of lessons that I've learned throughout the course of my career. There are three key lessons that I'll share with you and a bit of a discussion that leads up to that to help you engage with a number of principles and a very practical approach as to how you can make use of the best-in-class customer approaches to shape your digital transformation. And the reason why this topic is so important and why I'm so passionate about it is that according to Forbes, today, 66% of companies around the world compete on customer experience. So it's becoming a critical lever amongst all of the businesses in the world to ensure that they have a sustainable competitive advantage. And that 66% is double what it was 10 years ago. But what we notice is that there are quite a few organizations that struggle to get this right. And the ones that do get it right are the ones that are seeing revenue increases up to 80% year on year. So there's a tangible business value and business reason as to why keeping the customer at the center of your digital transformation is so critical. As a final note, before we get into the content, I'd like to make sure that everyone who's joining us today has an opportunity to share their views and thoughts. So please do make use of the chat and the Q&A as we go through our session today. Mona Lisa, you've got a hand raised.
Yeah. Tim, would like to ask if you are changing the slides because it's not moving here.
Not yet. I'll
Okay.
progress with the slides
Everything
shortly.
good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good to go. So on that note, let's move forward into our content for the day. I'm going to start with a very simple definition of digital transformation. And there are a lot of different definitions that you can find online. Some of them are longer, some of them are a bit shorter, but this is one that's quite practical. That means a lot to me. And it basically has four parts to it. So to start off with, digital transformation is a mindset. So it's a new way of thinking, and it starts with a vision. You need to have an ambition within your organization as to why you are digitally transforming in the first place and what your goal is. What are you setting out to achieve in your digital transformation? Is it a revenue target? Is it an opportunity to grow into a new sector? Is it an opportunity to be more efficient in your business or to uplift the experience of the organization and its customers? And once you're clear on that mindset, you're able to cascade it down to the different layers of your organization so that everybody buys into it, everybody understands it, and it becomes something tangible and palpable within the organization. The second part is that it's a new way of doing business. And all it took was a pandemic to help us all realize that we have to engage a little bit differently. We're doing global webinars over Zoom these days. We're engaging in metaverse platforms. We're using tools like ChatGPT on a daily basis to help us answer some of life's most complicated questions. And this new way of doing business, all of the different tools and digital enablers that we make use of, helps to equip us to understand how digital business in this new age operates. The third part, and in my view, perhaps the most important part of this definition, is that digital transformation is organized around our customers. So it's critically important, and what I'll speak a lot about today is how you configure around your customer. So take their needs, take their behaviors and the way that they prefer to engage to heart, and help to deliver products and services that better respond to your customers' needs. And the fourth part, there's a very good reason why I left this part for last, is that it's enabled by technology. And a lot of businesses try to do this in reverse. They try to start with the technology and come up with reasons as to why they think they should adopt blockchain or artificial intelligence or cloud or Internet of Things. And the lesson to be learned here is that technology is not the silver bullet. Technology should not be your starting point, but rather it should be an enabler. So once you figure out the ideal value proposition that you want to deliver in market, you can then use technology to help you figure out how to do it in a more effective manner. So the reason why this definition is really important is because I'm going to come back to it at the end of our session today. So try to keep in mind these four components of what digital transformation means to me, at least from a definition perspective. And when we see this come to life, when we see this really move into action, the reason why keeping your customer at the center of digital transformation leads me to this concept that I like to call customer leadership. And you'll probably hear me talk a lot today about customer leadership. The best way to sum it up, in my opinion, comes from a quote from the late Steve Jobs. And he said something quite profound. There was a famous quote that he mentioned that said, "Get closer to your customers, so close that you tell them what they need well before they realize it themselves." And the reason I love this quote so much is because it encapsulates the concept of proactively anticipating what your customer needs before they even realize it. So if you're able to deliver the best possible customer value proposition that takes into account the needs of your customer today and even their unexpressed needs of the future, then you have yourself a powerful value proposition that you're able to engage and lead into the market through this process of digital transformation. So customer leadership is all about leading your customer into the future and taking them along the journey with you. Because any good digital transformation risks failure if you don't center around the customer, configure around their needs, and help to take them on the journey so that they can understand and see the benefit that technology and digital transformation has as it relates to delivering the best possible value proposition to the market. So where do we see this coming to life? And why is it so challenging to engage with the customer in this new digital age? And there are a number of different stats that speak to this challenge that organizations have and the challenge that we all have to better engage customers. And just to start us off, I'll refer to a couple of the key stats that I've certainly observed in the past 4 years. So between the pandemic and the current day, we've seen a number of new behaviors, new traits that customers have that make it ever more challenging to please them and satisfy them. So One of the first ones that I see here is that customer experience has become essentially the last line of defense for companies to exceed these rapidly rising customer expectations. And what we're actually seeing is that 86% of consumers are willing to pay more for a greater customer experience. So not only are they asking for it, but they've even gone as far as saying they'll pay extra money as they see the value for a premium that can be placed on the best possible customer experience. Not only do they have high expectations, but they're also hungry for improvement. They're seeking innovation. And what we've seen is that 88% of customers actually expect companies to accelerate their digital and innovation initiatives in response to this new way of working in our post-COVID economy. Something else that we're experiencing, and I'm sure most of us can relate to it, is this new world of instant and on-demand living. So instant gratification for everything that we do. We've noticed that we see this play out in all parts of our lives, whether it be from same-day delivery for digital products and electronics, to groceries, medicine, pet food, and even panic buying toilet paper, where there's been a crisis. So interesting things taking place in this on-demand economy. And from an e-commerce perspective, what we saw globally was that e-commerce sales went up 20% since the pandemic. And what we observed in my country, where I'm from in South Africa, is an even higher increase at 66%. South Africa is a country that came off quite a low base with its activity in e-commerce, but it's really taken off in an amazing way. And what we're seeing is that 92% of first-time online shoppers are actually converted to this new way of shopping. So they'd never done it before. They gave it a try, and now 92% are sticking to these new behaviors to unlock instant gratification through e-commerce. If we move on, there's this concept of customers becoming more connected, more networked, and a term that is used very often is omnichannel. This concept of omnichannel is an important one because a lot of companies around the world claim to have this omnichannel strategy figured out, but there's a big difference between omnichannel and multi-channel. So multi-channel means you're able to engage with customers across different platforms or different channels, but omnichannel means that if I am a customer and I start any customer journey, whether that be a transaction or reaching out to get help, and I decide throughout the course of that journey to, let's say I start on my smartphone. Maybe I begin the journey by doing some research on a new product and applying for a loan on my phone. If I get home later and I get to my laptop and I want to continue that process on a different channel on my laptop, I should be able to pick up where I left off without having to repeat any steps and without having to start the process again. So as soon as you break that flow, you're not dealing in the omni-channel space, you're only dealing in multi-channel. And it's so important that customers are able to engage with companies in this true omni-channel fashion. What we're seeing and the extent to which this becomes important is that 74% of customers are actually using multiple channels to complete the average transaction. So it's important that you create a frictionless experience so that they can change from channel to channel and engage on their channel of preference to complete the tasks that they wish to complete with companies. We're also seeing this new wave of personal and contextual needs. So around the world, 66% of customers expect brands and companies to understand and deliver on their unique needs. There's something that we call a product of one, which is essentially the feeling or the experience that a customer has where they feel as though they are getting a unique product that is tailored to their needs rather than just a product that everyone else has. And that same number of customers, 66%, unfortunately, also state that they feel that companies treat them as just another number and they aren't getting that personal touch that they desire in the market. What that leads to, and something that becomes so important, is this concept called acute attrition. And this is all to do with churn and the challenge that a lot of businesses face in the digital age to try and create the best possible retention for their companies. And where we see this play out is that 75% of customers are trying new shopping behaviors. So that for the first time, they're trying new brands, researching new products, and 39% of them are actually deserting and leaving the current companies that they used to buy from and support to go for new brands in the market. So that barrier to entry, the barrier to try a new product and to take on something new as a customer is getting easier and easier, which makes it so important to keep our customers around and strive for customer longevity. So this new age digital customer is definitely a complicated and difficult customer to relate to and to understand and to deliver value to. So a lot of executives around the world tend to say, well, if it's so complicated, then why should I bother? Why do we need to make sure that we deliver the best possible customer experience? If it's just to make the customer feel better, is there actually business value behind this? And the answer to that, of course, is yes. There is business value behind customer experience and why it's so important to your digital transformation. There are a number of studies out there that help to support this business case for customer experience. I'll share with you one of my favorite ones. It comes from a research company called Forrester. And what Forrester have done is that they've created what they like to call the Customer Experience Index. So it's an index that tracks companies around the world who deliver some of the best customer experiences that they've ever seen. And it measures those companies on the quality of their customer experience. So that relates to the effectiveness, the ease of use, the emotion or empathy that they're able to apply in understanding customer needs, as well as customer loyalty. So that relates to the retention, enrichment, and advocacy that customers have for your company by creating a positive customer experience. And in this study, what they did is looked at the customer experience leaders, the best companies in the world that ranked highest across those factors that I mentioned, and looked at their cumulative stock portfolio returns over a 10-year basis. What they noticed when they looked at the stock returns of those companies is that CX leaders achieved a 1.5 times higher stock return than the S&P 500. And for a long time, the S&P 500 has been regarded some of the world's top performing companies globally. So it's interesting to see that those companies that are CX leaders and are striving to create the best possible customer experience are actually outperforming the S&P 500. What's even more shocking is that they took a look at some of the world's worst performers when it comes to customer experience, those companies that disregard customer experience and don't make an effort to support their customers. And what they noticed is that the customer experience leaders outperformed the laggards by up to 3 times. So there is a strong correlation between the ability for your business to create sustainable value versus the actual effort that you put into customer experience at the end of the day. And with that in mind, that sets a little bit of a background as to why customer experience is so important and the challenges that we need to navigate in this new digital landscape. So I'll share with you now very quickly 3 key lessons that I've learned and 3 lessons that I hope that you can apply in your own businesses to support you with keeping customer experience right at the center of your digital transformation. So the first lesson is quite a straightforward one. It's all about shifting your mindset to keeping the customer at the center of everything that you do and making sure that you don't fall into something called the Ptolemy trap. It's a silent P. This Ptolemy trap is an interesting phenomenon that was coined after a man called Claudius Ptolemy. So Claudius Ptolemy was an astronomer who was around in the 100 AD period. This was a long time ago, before the days of Nicholas Copernicus. And Ptolemy had a theory that he put forward to the world and said that he believes that the Earth is at the center of the universe, and all of the planets and all of the stars in the universe rotate around the Earth. So, Earth is at the center of everything. But unfortunately, Ptolemy was later disproved. His theory was debunked by Copernicus, who showed through science that actually the sun is at the center of our universe, and all the planets in our universe rotate around the sun. And there are a number of other stars in the universe as well, with their own sets of planets that rotate around those stars. And unfortunately, much like Ptolemy, a lot of companies around the world believe that their brand, their products, their services sit at the center of the universe, and that all of the customers rotate around their products and services. But the truth is that it's the other way around, because customers sit right at the center of their own universe, and it's the many different products and services that are available to them that rotate around them, and it's up to them to take their pick as to which one will solve their problems to the best possible way. So this Ptolemy trap summed up, we basically say that it's the concept of inventing elaborate explanations to preserve a self-centered view of the world. And the reason why you need to flip the script and change the lens as it relates to customer experience is by looking at something a little bit more like this. So this concept that I'm putting forward on the screen is by a Harvard Business School professor by the name of Clayton Christensen. Some of you may have heard of him before. And he wrote a book called Competing Against Luck, where he coined the theory of jobs to be done. So the jobs theory is a well-known customer experience way of looking at the world that says that customers don't actually buy products and services, but in actual fact, they hire products and services to do a job. So every customer has a role that they're trying to fulfill, maybe something in their lives that they're trying to achieve, and they will choose the products or services that best enable them to achieve that goal that they've set out for. And where this theory of jobs to be done comes from, at the beginning of his book, Clayton Christensen talks about a case study of work that he did for a very well-known fast food chain in America. And this fast food chain had hired a number of management consultants from some of the big consulting houses to try and figure out why they were selling so many milkshakes at one of their branches, but they weren't able to achieve the same results at their other branches. So Clayton Christensen went in and simply asked them, well, you've tried to get a number of management consultancies to help you. Perhaps they've tried to look at the data of the sales and spot some patterns, but you aren't getting the results. So have you tried asking the customer? And of course, the executive from the fast food chain said, well, no, we haven't asked the customer. We didn't think of that. So Clayton Christensen very simply went and did an ethnographic study. And he went to go and understand through focus groups, through interviews with customers, why they were buying milkshakes at this particular branch. What was the motivator behind the behavior that they elicited at this particular branch? And very interestingly, what he discovered that the job to be done was quite different to what the restaurant thought the job to be done was, because this particular branch was the last possible stop for food on a long stretch of highway before people went on their long commute to work. And what they discovered was that the reason behind why people wanted to buy a milkshake was because they were hungry or they needed some form of sustenance. And this was the last opportunity before they drove on the highway. So they stopped at this restaurant and said, well, what's on the menu? What can I get while I'm driving? Is there something quick and easy on the go that I can buy? And of course, it's difficult to buy a bagel for breakfast because if you have a bagel and you're trying to spread cream cheese while you're driving, it's impossible to use a steering wheel. Perhaps some of the other options had too much packaging, so it was difficult to unpackage, some kind of breakfast product that they would buy. And what they ended up finding is that the milkshake was the best possible seller because there was a cup holder in the car. And because the car was already designed in a way that suited this particular product, it became the best possible, easiest product to buy to provide some form of sustenance. So quite a different job to be done than what was expected in the results that Clayton Christensen found. And it's a good lesson to us to keep in mind, what is the underlying need? What is the underlying motivator that customers have, and how can we best deliver on it? So with that mindset in place, you're able to start to think about how we better deliver to customers. And there are a number of principles that I hold very close to me. There are 4 key principles that I like to put forward, and I've given them very simple names to help you remember them. So easy things like wow me. How do you start off your customer journey by really impressing the customer, creating these positive experiences that draw the customer towards your brand or your company? And of course, this is enabled by your frontline staff, by the channels and the support that you're able to give to your customers to create that highly impressive experience. And a company that does this really well in real life is Amazon. A lot of you will be familiar with Amazon and a lot of the offerings that they have in the market. And what I find amazing about Amazon is that they've figured out a way to create more of a self-service experience. So whether you're dealing with one of their digital products like Amazon Kindle or Audible, or some of their media products, or if you're trying to buy products online, they've got a 360-degree view of the customer, and they're able to allow you to navigate through a series of different options, be that through self-service or through a chatbot, to figure out the solution to your problem. And if you're not able to find that solution, you can deal with the service agent, and they can very easily help you to look at your profile, understand your unique needs, and provide a really impressive offering. And this is why it's no surprise that some of the best offerings that Amazon has shared in the market, such as Amazon Prime, really helps to create this environment that enriches and impresses us with every step of our lives. So same-day delivery, unlimited media streaming, free gaming, exclusive personalized shopping deals, and even access to their Amazon Fresh personal grocery service, all for a subscription fee. So a really nice way to impress the customer and provide the best possible service and experience. So once you've wowed me and you've impressed me, you need to show as a company that you know me. And this is the next step along the journey, basically using data and personalization to deliver a better, more enriched and contextual personal offering to the market. So this is all enabled by data and insights, and it's an opportunity for you to show that you can provide a better personalized experience to your customer. A company that does this really well is Spotify. So every week on a Monday, I'm a Spotify customer. I receive something in my mailbox called Discover Weekly. So it's a personal playlist that Spotify creates for me, and it finds some of the most amazing music in the world that's tailored to my personal preferences. But what you'll find is that the playlist that I receive is based on data and historical listening insights that I provided to Spotify for them to enrich the experience. And Manuela, who's on the call over there, if she receives her Discover Weekly on Spotify, it will look completely different to mine because it'll be tailored to her preferences and the type of music that she enjoys listening to. So once you've wowed me, you've shown that you know me, now you need to go to the third principle. You need to make it easy. This one's very straightforward. You need to remove friction from the process. So if you're dealing with your customer and they have something they want to achieve, try to remove steps that are unnecessary and try to make the process of getting the job done a whole lot easier. And this is enabled, of course, by your systems and processes that allow you to deliver a better value proposition. A company that has done a really great job at this is Adobe. A lot of you will know them as a market leader when it comes to creative software. So whether it be video editing or photo editing, they're even getting into the generative AI space quite recently, which is quite exciting, a great move for the creative community. What they did some years ago is shifted their business model. So they went away from a business model of selling a CD. You'd have to go to a computer shop and buy a new CD every year to download the latest software and pay for that every single year. And they moved to a subscription-based business. So they now provide what they call Creative Cloud. It's access to all of their digital tools in a very neatly packaged software as a service. And you can receive cloud updates instantly. So as soon as there's a new update, that downloads to your computer so that you know you always have the latest and greatest creative editing software. And this shift in their business model helped them to see revenue increases and improvements in retention upwards of 20%, just by creating a more convenient and streamlined process for the customer to essentially make it a whole lot easier to access their product. So those three steps are well understood. Wow me, know me, make it easy. Last of all, you need to earn my trust. And this one is so important because it's something you build up over time. It's enabled by your reputation, the relationships that you're able to form with customers, and the ability to provide delivery excellence over a period of time. You can almost think of it as a build-up of the previous three principles, but consistently delivered so that you can show the customer that they can value the trust that you bring to them. And a nice case study on this one, there's a company called Brave, some of you might have heard of. They're a web browser business, so a little bit like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. And they have taken customer trust and customer privacy to heart in the most amazing way. So what they've been able to do is create a web browser that gives you complete privacy. They don't have any cookies or search history trackers. A lot of you will be familiar if ever you've searched for a new product, maybe you're searching for holiday destinations in Barcelona. And as soon as you search for it in your web browser, you'll probably notice that you start getting adverts delivered to you on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and it feels almost like someone's following you around the internet trying to sell products to you. So what Brave has done is that they've done away with all of those trackers that harvest customer data to try and sell products, and they've created an optional opt-in. So as an option, customers can choose which information they want to share with advertisers. And as they share that information, they can earn a cryptocurrency. So Brave has created what they call the BAT. It's the basic attention token. And through the BAT, if you share information with advertisers, you're empowered as the customer to earn a cryptocurrency back, so that you feel that your data is actually worth something. Your data is valuable to those advertisers, which is quite an amazing way of flipping that model of online advertising around. So keeping customer at the heart, whether it comes to making that first impression, using their data for good, so to enrich the value proposition, not to harvest, making it easy, streamlining the process, and then over time earning your customers' trust. And with these principles in mind, if you get this right, you need to now apply it into an approach. You need to be able to deliver a better value proposition. And this is where we come to my third and final lesson for the day. This one's a little bit longer, so you'll have to bear with me. It's got quite a few steps to it, but you'll see the steps come to life and hopefully understand how you can apply that mindset, the principles, and this approach in your own businesses. So it all starts with the customer journey. Step number one. Some of you will be familiar with the concepts of a customer journey map. And the customer journey map is just a visual depiction that helps you to track the different points of interaction with the customer and how they navigate through the different stages of interaction with your business. So the one that you see on screen is just a generic one. There are some more tailored and nuanced ones depending on the type of business that you're in. But in general, you can imagine that we'd start off at a point of awareness, the moment where a customer becomes aware of a product or service and the job that it would fulfill. And if they feel that it will do a good job at serving that job to be done in their lives, they'll become interested. So the next step is interest. If indeed they want to go ahead and purchase that product, they move into the purchase stage, and then the experience that they have with that product or service. And hopefully they become a loyal customer going forward. Sometimes so loyal that they become advocates for your brand and share that experience with their friends and family, so that those friends and family can start the customer journey from the awareness step as well, and hopefully become long-standing customers in the future. So the customer journey map is important, but you can't just create it once and leave it there and hope that it helps your business, because it's actually a living and breathing artifact that you need to continuously work on and look at a few different steps to help you derive value from it. So the very first step that I always recommend is by looking at the jobs to be done. There'll be a number of different jobs to be done across the different stages of your customer journey map. And there's some great tools online. If you search for the jobs to be done canvas, it's a great way to look at what the motivators or needs are for the customer in a given circumstance, what their different options are to deliver on those needs, and how you can better provide a customer experience that delivers on their needs. So understanding that job to be done is absolutely critical, and thinking back to the lesson that we learned from Clayton Christensen to really get to the core of what the underlying need is of your customer. And you'll notice that there's some points where there's a very strong job to be done, and you need to be able to deliver on that. Maybe your product or service is well positioned to do so. But there will also be points along the customer journey where there is not a job to be done. And the moment you try to force a product or service on a customer at that point, it becomes frustrating for the customer. They don't actually want to buy your product or service. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to getting sales calls or annoying spam emails at inappropriate times in your customer journey where you're not actually in a position to make that purchase. So once you understand the jobs to be done, it's important to look at the different touch points. Where are the moments of engagement that you have with your customer? And those could be at different stages along the journey. They could also be on different channels. And as I mentioned, it's important to keep in mind that there are different channels available, and it's in your best interest as a company to deliver a message or deliver communication with your customer on their channel of choice. So don't make use of your channel of choice, but try to keep in mind how the customer prefers to communicate. Of course, there's nothing more irritating than if you send a text message to a company and they decide to phone you back, or if you send an email to a company and you expect an answer, but they decide to send you a postcard in the postbox. That's taking what the customer thought was their preferred channel and then saying, well, I'll get back to you on a different channel, which can be quite frustrating. So keep in mind how you can better deliver to that customer's choice of channel. And by using dashboard tools and customer service tools, you're able to get a view of all of the different channels in one location, which makes it easier than ever to deliver value to the customer on their preferred channel. Across those different touch points, you'll start to notice that customers have different highlights and lowlights. And again, this speaks to that concept that Clayton Christensen got right, where he said, you need to ask the customer how they're feeling. You need to ask them why they're behaving in a certain way. And this is all through a combination of big data, as well as what I like to call small data. So big data is great. You're able to do surveys in the market and get maybe a leading view as to what customers are feeling or what their preferences are. But a survey alone and sitting on a lot of big data doesn't help to explain why customers behave in a certain way, which is why you need to combine that big data with small data. And the small data is essentially your qualitative elements. The types of insights that you get through ethnographic interviews, through focus groups, and from actually engaging face-to-face with your customer. So combining that big data where you start to see patterns in behavior with the small data that explains the motivators behind that behavior is where the magic is, because it helps you to understand why customers behave in a certain way and what you can do to better deliver on their needs. So once you understand those highlights and lowlights, you're now able to segment your customer base. And there are a lot of companies out there that do customer segmentation. Some of them do a really great job at it, but a lot of them do it on the basis of demographics. And although demographic data can be somewhat interesting to explain broadly what you may expect from a certain type of customer, be it their, a different age or different race, gender, income levels, or how long they've been with your company, what it doesn't explain is why they behave in a certain way. And my recommendation here would be, don't segment by demographic, but rather segment by customer need. So segment based on the type of behavior that these customers have. And there's some great resources out there. One that I would recommend is The Rise of the Empowered Customer by Forrester, which helps you to understand how you can look at those different needs that are expressed by customers, some of their highlights and lowlights. We often call them pains and gains, and start to say, well, we're starting to notice that these particular customers who behave in that certain way have different preferences in common. And we can deliver a better value proposition to them by focusing on that underlying need that they exhibit in the market. So by doing that customer segmentation based on need, you're able to craft a customer value proposition for those different personas. So keeping in mind that each persona might have a slightly different customer journey, equally, you may need to customize your customer value proposition to better deliver on those needs. So in creating that customer value proposition, you need to think about how you communicate it. And that's all about getting the right message on the right channel at the right time to your customer. So making sure they resonate with the message that you're putting out in the market and can see the value in that product or service that you believe would better solve the job to be done that they've expressed. The next part is easier said than done. It's all about delivering your customer value proposition in the market. And this is enabled through your people, your process, and technology. So essentially the layer of your business that brings products and services to life. And a lot of the work that I do with many of my clients focuses in this area. But a lot of clients make the mistake of trying to skip right from the customer journey map at the top, step number 1, all the way to step number 8 instantly. And if you jump from step 1 to step 8 without acknowledging steps 2 to 7, you'll probably find that the customer value proposition that you put forward isn't exactly what the market wants. You're not able to take into account their feedback and their needs in the market. So what I'd suggest as a final step over here is that it doesn't stop there, because you need to measure the overall business impact. What is the outcome that these different steps have on your business? And you can measure essentially a customer dashboard. You look at some of the key KPIs such as customer value. How can you increase the value per customer? Customer volume. What is your total number of customers and how can you bring on new customers? The overall cost to serve. How can you decrease the cost to communicate, the cost to deliver a product or service to customers? Customer longevity. How do you make sure that you retain customers and keep them around a lot longer? And customer advocacy, how can they pass on the good message to your fellow friends and family to bring them on board as well? But what's not pictured over here, and the last thing to keep in mind, is that those are all KPIs. They're business indicators that help you to track the performance of your business. But what they don't track is the metrics that are important to customers. So I always recommend, in addition to KPIs, you also need to look at CPIs. And CPIs are essentially customer performance indicators, the types of metrics where customers say, well, for example, how long did it take for me to wait on hold on the phone before I was helped? How many days did it take for my problem to be resolved? What were the different messages, or how well did the person on the customer support line understand my unique needs? Those are all the types of CPIs that really mean a lot to your customer. So the final step over here is that you need to then create a feedback loop. You'll remember I said that this needs to be a living and breathing artifact, and it needs to be something that you can update and upgrade within the business by taking on those learnings and putting them back into the start of the funnel, into your customer journey. And taking that approach really helps you to map the different steps of the customer journey, but to dynamically update it and understand what the customer needs by taking into account that agile learning and that agile information and insight that helps you to enrich the customer experience over time. So what does it look like when you get this right? There are a few case studies. In fact, there's so many great case studies out there that speak to some of the world's leading organizations that really apply best-in-class customer experience in their digital transformation. So I'll share really quickly 3 of my favorite ones with you. The first one is Google. They've got a unit called Sidewalk Labs. It's essentially their smart city part of the business that helps a lot of their clients to create better real estate planning tools. So it's all about urban real estate development of the future. And they've created a generative AI real estate planning tool that took into account the perspectives of different stakeholders. So they went and interviewed individuals in the architecture profession, in finance, operations, environmental specialists, etc. And what they were able to do is create an AI model that would figure out the best possible combination of those different needs from a variety of different stakeholders and help you to plan a better smart city or a better environmentally friendly city that collaborates across those different factors and parameters. And the outcome of this tool, they created this tool called Delve through Sidewalk Labs. They were able to outperform existing benchmarks by increasing real estate return on investment by 11% and increase usable residential space by 10%. So not only were these spaces more cost effective and brought a higher yield in revenue, but they also became better livable spaces for the people who inhabited them. The next example that we have is DHL. They take an approach that I really like. It's something that I do with a lot of my clients, and it's a very interactive co-creation approach. So DHL set up 4 DHL innovation centers around the world, and they have over 13,000 visitors every year, hosting around 6,000 co-creation engagements. These engagements are basically workshops, focus groups, interviews, and innovation events that seek to solve some of the most challenging and difficult supply chain problems in the world. So all about creating digital products of the future in the supply chain space. And some of the innovations that have come out of these innovation centers include things like the parcel copter that you see on screen. It's basically a drone delivery service on demand that DHL has set up. They also came up with AR, augmented reality smart glasses that help the warehouse picking process, and they've seen an efficiency uptake in that warehouse value chain by up to 25%. So some really impressive innovations that have come through a co-creation approach by inviting their customers, inviting some of the world's biggest supply chain organizations to co-create and solve challenges that they have in their business. And then the final one to keep an eye on, it's early stages because they're still in development, is Toyota. They've come up with something called the Woven City. This is a smart city that is being built in Japan, and it's right on the foot of Mount Fuji. This smart city is going to be the home to essentially a living laboratory. They're going to be creating a space in a 175-acre city, home to 2,000 residents, who include researchers, technologists, scientists, educators, and also citizens who live, work, and play in these spaces. And they'll be testing new products in the space of mobility, transport, logistics, healthcare, education, and even assisted living. So a real life sandbox environment where they're able to engage directly with living customers to better deliver on their needs and try to create a model for what the smart city of the future might look like. So some really interesting innovations that take customer and their needs into the heart of digital transformation. So as we come towards closing, and we'll open up to the floor shortly if there are any questions or comments, you remember from the beginning that I mentioned that definition around digital transformation. And I said that I'm going to come back to it for a very good reason. Because what we've learned today is only helpful if you're able to take action on it. And a few guides, a few books out there that, in my opinion, are some of the best tools available to you to help bring this into action. There's a number of books focused on this topic. And the first one we mentioned is all about shifting your mindset, what I like to call applying a forward back thinking process. So envisioning what the future of your business could look like once it's digitally transformed, and then working backwards to figure out what needs to be true to make that future a reality. There's a book by a man by the name of Mark Johnson called Lead from the Future that helps you to understand how you can take your organization into the future by applying a mindset that seeks to create that ambition and the tool set required to work towards that ambition. The second one is all around this new way of working. We found this new world where we need to adopt a new way of doing business, and you really need to rethink the processes, the tools, the enablers that you have in your business to better engage and compete in the digital age. So a book that has really great frameworks and approaches on how you can apply new ways of working is called The Digital Transformation Playbook by David Rogers, a book well worth checking out. The third one, and one that I did mention earlier, but I will mention again because it's one of the best books on this topic, is that you need to center around your customer. So understand their job to be done. And of course, the theory of jobs to be done comes directly from Clayton Christensen's book, Competing Against Luck, with a number of other tools and methods and a way of thinking that helps you to understand what the underlying customer need really is so that you can shape a better digital transformation. And finally, you need to bring it to life. So this is enabled through technology. I mentioned that technology is essentially the enabler, and one of the best books in this space that speaks to how you can build exponentially scalable products and services and businesses in the market leverages a lot of exponential technology. So some of the habits on how you can build businesses using blockchain, artificial intelligence, cloud, Internet of Things, machine learning, and many of the other technologies available to us is a book by the name of Exponential Organizations by Salim Ismail. So just a few reads if you're interested in learning more about this topic and how you can bring customer-centric digital transformation to life. So I'm going to leave it there. I have a quote for you and one statistic that I'd like to leave on the table. So this is quite a frightening statistic. You can call it Tim's stat of the day. Hopefully it's quite mind-blowing. But throughout the world, what we've observed is that 87% of companies state that they provide excellent customer experience. So 87% of companies truly believe that they're delivering the best possible experience to their customers. However, only 11% of customers actually agree. So that delta between the 11% and the 87% is so critical for us to take some of these principles and approaches to apply in our businesses and provide a better customer experience to lead our digital transformations. So it's a quote by Richard Branson. He said something quite phenomenal that helps us as leaders to remember that we play a role. Us and our organizations need to help the rest of the organization to understand the importance of this topic by saying that good customer service begins at the top. If your senior people don't get it, then even the strongest links further down the line can become compromised. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all for listening in. I hope that you learned something today, and I look forward to hearing if you have any questions or comments from today's presentation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Tim. It's very interesting, and thank you for touching this kind of such topical issues. Okay. And before I answer, we have a few questions here, but before answering the questions, let's talk with Manuela about our master's program just a little bit. Manuela, are you listening?
Yes, here I am. So
yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Manuela Barbero, and I serve as a career development and admission consultant in ZIGURAT. My role alongside my colleagues, is pivotal as we guide and counsel our students to help them select the optimal education path for their professional, journey. Our approach may seem unconventional instead of merely sending out a catalog and a financial proposal, as is often the case. At ZIGURAT, we generally prioritize our student future. That's why we arrange video meetings to delve deeper into understanding student profile and needs and aspiration. To delve and during the phase, we are not only recommended the most suitable program, but also offer guidance on managing their daily commitment, introduce them to the course content and important, try to support them financially to make their enrollment possible. The sequences or subsequent phase involve assisting them with their application and guiding them through the entire process up to their final registration. But let's not focus a little bit more on our master program. So as Tim said something about it, but the primary objective of this program is to grow future leaders and keeping them with the tools and knowledge essential to thrive in the emerging digital era.
Manuela,
Embarking, yeah.
sorry, just do you want to share your screen because we are.
I don't have the screen to share. You have the screen to share. I don't
okay.
have it.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I thought that you was sharing the screen. Okay, let's. Did you have it?
Yeah. I can put.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Go
sure.
ahead.
Take your time. Okay, I go. I will finish. So, embarking on the MBA journey is not just about acquiring a degree. It's about shaping a future, ready mindset. Our MBA in digital transformation at ZIGURAT is meticulously crafted to equip with you the skills that are paramount in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape. What sets our program apart is forward of thinking approach in a world dominated by digital technologies. The ability to navigate and lead a digital initiative is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. So our curriculum is designed to bridge the gap between traditional business acumen and cutting-edge digital strategies. Okay? So just finally, our program emphasizes end of experience through real projects, ensuring that you're not just theory savvy, but also industry ready. Team know about it. So how many projects we developed during the year of the master. But moreover, our faculty comprises seasoned professional and thought leader in digital space, ensuring that you are learning from the best. They bring their wealth of experience from different sectors, offering an holistic perspective on digital transformation. So if you're passionate about leading change, driving innovation, or shaping the future of business in the digital age, our MBA program in digital transformation is your guideway to your success. So you can contact us if you'd like to join and be part of this transformative journey.
Okay. So thank you, Manuela.
You're
Thank you for your
welcome.
speech. Tim, we can answer the questions. We have a few here. Are you listening?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
sure. Thanks. Happy
You
to
can
answer
read.
some questions.
Oh, do you want me to read? Oh, the first one is let's see here. We have the chat and we have yes, the first one. Which technologies, not brand related specifically, do you think they are underrated and which ones are overrated? This question is from Nicholas. Thank you, Nicholas.
So thanks, Nicholas, for the question. It's an interesting one because there's so many different technologies out there, first of all, and a different range of utility that your technology will be able to bring. So the first recommendation I'd have on that question is a resource that I often make use of. It's called the Gartner Hype Cycle. So Gartner releases a number of different reports on different technologies, and it helps to show the uptake of different technologies and how useful they actually are in real life, which helps to speak to which ones are overrated or underrated, or which use cases perhaps would be overrated and underrated. If you had to ask a more personal lens on that one, some of the technologies that I think are maybe a bit overrated, certainly I'm yet to see the true use case from a business perspective in technologies like the metaverse and augmented reality. I think they're amazing. They're really fun, really great experience, but I'm not sure how yet they're going to help businesses to move into the future. And equally, if you ask me some of the, um, which are some of the technologies that are maybe underrated, I certainly think blockchain is one of them. The main reason behind that is because I appreciate the cryptocurrency market, but what's more exciting to me about blockchain is some of the use cases built on trust. And we spoke earlier about how trust is such an important element to keeping customers at the center of your digital transformation. So if you're able to find solutions for blockchain use cases like voting, creating an immutable and trustable source for people to vote on, whether it be a government election or within an organization to choose a decision or a way forward. If you're able to get, maybe another use case could be healthcare records, basically a consistent view of a patient's profile that you're able to store on the blockchain. Another use case that I'm quite interested in and have seen some solutions in the market is all around the creative industry and making sure that whether it be music streaming or video streaming, that the creators of content actually get remunerated correctly for the content that they create. So those types of use cases I find really interesting in the blockchain space.
Okay, thank you. The second one is from Paul, and he said, with digital globalization, is there still a direct flow for CX trends, or have we become homogeneity regarding needs and expectations? If there is a flow to trends and expectations, where do you look to get ahead of CX needs? And is there a geographical hierarchy for watching CX expectations?
Very, very nice question, Paul. This is an exciting space and one that keeps on changing, which makes it so difficult to keep track of. There was a quote by Mark Twain that comes to mind here. He said something along the lines of, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes." And what we do see is evidence of some of the trends as it relates to the customer, showing similar patterns year on year, but with slight nuances. So I'm always a big fan of downloading the latest reports in the CX domain. You often hear of some great reports. I downloaded one recently from Zendesk called their CX Trends for 2024. And there are a lot of surveys that help to explain, some of the leading trends as to how customers are engaging differently or preferring things like conversational commerce or chatbots or engaging with AI in a more meaningful way. So those types of trends are really interesting, but it's typically small changes that take place over the course of time. And one of the tools that I make use of that I really enjoy getting a better understanding of customer needs is something called Futures Platform. So it's a foresight tool, and it's something that you're able to access online. They have a free version available before you buy the full version, and it helps to track trends across a variety of different sectors and a variety of different technologies so that you can see what are the trends of today, what are the trends in the next horizon, maybe in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time, that we might predict to come online. So that's always a nice way to try and see past the incremental changes as to what the next big change in the market might be relating to customer experience trends.
Okay, thank you. And the last one is from Nicholas again. Hey team, great presentation. You mentioned it CX for B2B or B2C, but how would your approach a digital transformation from inside the company? Usually, a CMS will reach out to super user, and that super user is the one that will take charge internally as a super user. How can you take the charge and lead at a digital transformation internally? Thank you, Nicholas.
Yeah. So thanks, Nicholas. And another great question. And you point out something important here because I often like to think of a customer as an internal lens or an external lens. So the easy way that we always look at it is the external lens, where we think of that B2B or B2C customer, maybe a B2B2C customer, but sometimes we neglect our internal customers, our stakeholders, the employees within the organization who are actually responsible for driving a digital transformation. So a lot of the CX principles that are so important for your external customers are equally important to internal customers and stakeholders as well. And if you're able to deliver a better experience to your employees and help them to essentially do their jobs to the best of their ability and feel, those principles that we mentioned, how do you wow them? How do you know them? How do you make it easy? And how do you earn their trust? Are all things that you can apply internally to help those employees to take that vision that you set, the ambition for digital transformation, and truly understand it and feel empowered. You need to give them the tool set to drive that digital transformation, whether that be the space to innovate, time taken out in their calendars where they can work on projects and drive that innovation forward. Maybe they need budget, maybe they need the right access to skills and training. Maybe they need access to new technologies and new tools that help them to bring those digital transformation elements along the roadmap to life. So a great point that you raise here, and hopefully some reflections that help you to apply those CX principles, not only externally, but also internally.
Okay, so there's no questions anymore. Thank you to everyone who was here with us today, and a special thank for you, Tim and Manuela, for being here, accepting our invitation. And I hope you have enjoyed this masterclass, and we keep in touch. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you. Thank you.